So let's start. Previously in Tyranny of Dragons, you boarded the Zarkanen. It is a Cholton vessel returning from El Turel, and you met its captain, a black-skinned Cholton woman named Durana, and her crew. Thokk found a comfortable spot and started playing music, befriending most of the ship's crew, but irritating the Minotaur known as Broad Shoulders. Roscoe and Devlin had several conversations with the ship's crew, especially with Severus Vane, the ship's doctor, and Calem Zam, its cook. You learned that Durana owed Nethak a favor after the merchant helped her settle in the Sword Coast. She gave him a magical coin so he can contact her in times of need, which he did when you met him. You also learned that Cholton vessels are believed to have some kind of guardian ghosts that need to be appeased by a sacrifice of food, gold, or even blood. But the cook, who told you all about it, doesn't remember when was the last time a sacrifice was actually needed. Roscoe helped Calem prepare dinner, and everyone sat at the table right after Ben Horngold, the ship's navigator, asked Thokk to go below deck while he stayed up examining navigation charts. During dinner and after, Thokk noticed that Saida is in love with her captain. The ship shuddered. You all kind of rushed above deck and found the corpse of Ben Horngold, who was slain by a javelin similar to the one used by the Halfling assassin who came after Roscoe. In the confusion and chaos, the Minotaur asked, basically demanded for a blood sacrifice and kind of offered the Half-orc as to be sacrificed. But Thokk, you managed to turn it into a duel. And then basically what happened is that the crew kind of circled the two of you, expecting a fight. And this is where we stopped last time. So Thokk, if I remember correctly, you cast a spell. You told me you have cast a spell while taunting the Minotaur.
Yeah, Vicious Mockery.
Okay, so tell me, what does it do? What do I need to do?
He needs to make a Wisdom DC or Wisdom save.
Okay. So let's see what happens. What is the DC again?
13.
Okay. Minotaur. Okay. Ooh. So they are quite wise, it seems. So this huge monster basically towers over you, eager to bash you into a pulp. Now he holds, usually Minotaurs kind of, wave this huge axe, but this one is clutching a huge mace. And he botched his wisdom save.
Okay.
So what happens?
He takes 1d4 of psychic damage. Let me roll that real quick.
Okay.
Okay, he takes 1 psychic damage and he's at disadvantage on his next attack.
Okay. So the captain stays near the helm. She doesn't say anything. She kind of crosses her hands across her breast, and she simply looks at this duel. So, Thokk, do you want to describe what are you doing exactly? Or do you say something? Do you simply cast a spell? How does it look?
Vicious Mockery is basically just insults with consequences.
Okay.
So remembering back to last, I think what I said was he had said he was about to do something, and I made a comment like, it would be the first time you'd raised your hand in work since I entered the boat.
Right.
Or something like that.
Okay. So this creature's roar is more like a cow blurting out this intelligible sound. But he obviously was very irritated by your spell and your insults, and then he simply takes one step toward you and kind of tries to smack you with his mace. Now, you know what? Make a perception check as you kind of gouge his tactics and his moves. Okay, that's very high. So,
21.
So you realize that this creature is probably much more dangerous if you let it charge you. You think basically the circle of sailors around you kind of prevents him from doing that, but you can see that he keeps looking for an opening so he can basically take several steps and charge you, maybe even strike you with his horns. So as long as you keep him close, you think you might be spared from a really, really dangerous attack. He hit AC 14 with his...
At disadvantage?
Oh, sorry. Thanks.
Well, it doesn't matter. That misses anyways. I'm 16.
Okay, no, so disadvantage was even. The second dice was higher. So you managed to duck behind this huge mace of him. You can feel the air kind of rush above your head as you dodge it, and he kind of snarls,
"Stay in one position so I can strike you! Stand still!"
In the meantime, the crew is very enthusiastic. People are betting on the results of this duel. Roscoe, Devlin, and Tal, do you join the bets?
Yeah, I'm going to stick in a couple of gold.
In whose favor?
On the Minotaurs, actually.
How
But
many?
he won't tell anyone that.
Okay, how much gold do you put in?
2.
Okay. Roscoe?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna go to how far away is the captain from here?
A couple of steps. You need to go up the stairs to the helm, and then she's right there.
Okay, I'm gonna run up the steps and start shouting at her telepathically.
Okay. What?
I'm gonna say, Captain Durana, this is crazy. It wasn't a ghost that killed Bam Horngold. It was a person. It was an assassin. It's someone who was hunting for me. I saw them fly away. They're trying to kill me. I don't know why. I don't know. Someone named Morgana. I've never met this person. Don't know who it is. And the whole situation is has nothing to do with Thokk. The fight. It's not a fair fight, and you're the Minotaur is just wants to murder someone. You have to do something about this.
She looks at you, and when you mention the name Morgana, you
Or
actually...
is it Morgaya?
Yeah, Morgaya.
Right, sorry. Yeah.
She looks at Saida, but then she looks at you and says, "Stop talking inside my mind." I need you to make a persuasion check. In the meantime, Tal, do you join the bets?
I whisper to whoever guy who was near me and go, 5 gold. The bot dies in a minute.
5 gold? Okay. Wait for it.
Can I do I have to give my gold, or can I just say I'm betting?
No, you simply say it. The ship's doctor, Severus, is holding a ledger and basically writes down everyone's bets, looking at the fight. But you do see that he holds his doctor's pouch next to him. So you believe that he's used to such fights, and someone is indeed going to get hurt. He smiles at you and writes down your bet. Okay, Thokk.
Okay. I'm going to try to maneuver to where I'm over close to the ship's railing,
Okay.
and Look at the Minotaur and says, "Oh, the mighty Minotaur needs its targets to stand still to hit them. I understand now." And cast vicious mockery again.
Okay. Go for it. DC 13, we say? Okay, so this time he managed to pull it off.
Okay, so nothing happens.
Okay. So he watches as you move to the side of the railing, and he kind of turns around to the crowd. I don't know the sound that a cow does. How do you call it?
Moo.
So yeah, he doesn't moo because that's not cool. But he kind of blurts out this horrible noise with a lot of spit, and all the crew kind of takes a step back, and he then turns to you and tries to run to you. Now you've taken a few steps back, so he's able to kind of take 2 steps to approach you. This isn't charging per se, but you can see his huge figure kind of grows as he approaches you, and then another swing of the mace. So that is a total of 21, which is a hit.
Just missed.
Just missed. Okay, so
No, he got me.
yeah. So he hits you for that's 16 points of damage with his mace. It crushes into you. You're pretty sure that several bones snapped, and you can hear the crew kind of goes, "Ooh." Roscoe, Durana looks at you and she says, "If I don't allow this, there will be mutiny." And then she says, "Go to Severus, make sure he's ready to help your friend. He'll probably need it."
Okay, hypothetical question, Captain. And I'll speak out loud because she told me to. If I knock the Minotaur off the boat, what happens next?
She smiles and says, "If your friend doesn't mind his honor in the duel." And she looks at you and then says, "I hope broad shoulders know how to swim."
Okay, so I'll consider it. I'll go back down
Okay.
the stairs.
Now, Damien, I saw you fire the witch bolt. Is this on purpose? Are you trying to do something?
No, I was trying to do something. My witch bolt doesn't have an attack bonus, and I thought I'd put it.
Okay, no,
in, but I was trying to put it in. Sorry, yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So, Tal and Devlin, do you want to do anything while watching this fight?
I'm going to watch it for now. I have an idea, so I'm going to watch it for now and see whether it'll work.
Okay, so you basically watch the two kind of circle one another with Thokk just suffering a massive blow due to this, crazed Minotaur swing. But you do see that the Minotaur is kind of toying with him, probably trying to kind of prolong the fight now that he have hit Thokk. You think that he's playing a game. You're not sure why. Tal?
I'll ask the doctor what's the rules in this combat.
He looks at you and says, "Well, one rule. There is no rule."
Oh, okay.
Tal, do you want to do something?
Are you asking me? Sorry, you cut out there for a bit.
Do you want to do something?
Yes. I would like to prepare myself in case Talk goes into like a state that he might die or suffer very serious or dire to be in a dire situation. I would like to step in this situation, but for now, I would like to grab the nearest keg and drink from it.
Okay, so you do. So since both of you are basically looking at the. Okay, so you're basically looking at checking out the fight. That's fine. Great. Roscoe, as you move, so you move back to Severus, or are you staying next to Captain Durana?
I'll move back down toward Severus, or toward the circle of spectators.
Okay. Great. So Thokk, the Minotaur kind of towers above you, looking at you, and he says,
You're not so sure of yourself now, aren't you? This is going to be fun.
As he kind of waves the mace just in front of your face. What do you do?
I'm going to duck over to the opposite rail, hopefully opening enough room for him to charge, and I'm going to prepare a spell for when he does charge.
Okay, amazing. So basically
I'm going to hold my action until he charges, and then when he does, I'm going to cast invisibility on myself.
Good. Okay. In this case, the people, the sailors, kind of look at you in confusion. Some of them kind of elbowing one another, and Tal and Devlin, you definitely hear, "Oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money now," as everyone prepare for this charge, and indeed, he does charge. So he basically bends down his head, kind of holds the mace across his chest, and shouts and simply rushes forward.
Okay, as he does, I cast invisibility on myself. I duck down into a tight little ball about ankle height right next to the rail.
Okay.
And try to trip him as he comes toward me so that he will fall overboard.
Oh my god, that's awesome. So he rushes forward, and you can see that if you had simply stayed where you are, you would have been crushed into a pulp. I needed to make that, dexterity check. Let's see if you manage to trip him, or if you have any. Okay, that's actually good. Let's make an opposed dexterity check. Oh, a 1. Awesome. So he crashes into the railing, and because you managed to trip him, he kind of flies over and even breaks some of the wood. He shrieks and then plunges down right into the water. You all hear like a as he crashes into the water, and the whole crew is kind of dead silent at this point, looking straight where you should have been. At this point,
and I'll drop invisibility, stand up, and say, "There's your sacrifice." Ow.
When you do that, I need you to make a perception check. Okay.
I'm saying ow.
Okay. So the people are dead silent. They look at you in complete disbelief, like what just happened? How the hell did you do that? And you can all hear the Minotaur kind of right now. He's actually mooing down below in the water, and when you kind of look at your crowd, like if this was some kind of a performance, you see a shimmering figure. It's like a haze, walking right behind Roscoe, and
Roscoe is actually not quiet or silent.
Exactly.
He's jumping up and down and clapping and saying, "Yay, yay, Thokk! I didn't know you could do it, but you could do it. That's good job."
Exactly. And Thokk, you realize that there is someone invisible behind him, but you were too late in spotting it. Roscoe, you kind of jump up and down, and then suddenly you feel this enormous pain, and you look as in disbelief as the blade of a sword kind of explodes from your chest. So as if someone kind of skewed you from behind to the full length of the blade, and you take like.
I'm guessing I'm not at max hit points anymore.
No. No, you don't. Okay. Okay. So that is the equivalent of 32 points of damage.
Oh, I'm down.
As this blade kind of... So, Thokk, you watch as Roscoe looks down at in disbelief at this blade that suddenly protrudes from his chest, and at this point the figure behind it kind of loses the invisibility spell, and you can see a halfling stricken with some sort of a disease, holding the blade that just dropped Roscoe. And Roscoe, the last thing you hear before you
Die
is "I'm sorry," in this sad voice. But Thokk, you think you are the only one who noticed it. All the other people, the sailors, they rush to the railing and throw ropes and try to bring up their falling friend. Durana.
Do I see it?
So you know what? You, Devlin and Tal, you can roll now. No, actually you don't. Only Thokk was kind of in line of sight. You were busy collecting or not collecting, but paying your
2 gold pieces.
Yeah, and 5 for Tal. Okay, so Thokk, what do you do?
So I saw Roscoe go down.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to yell assassin, point towards Roscoe, and I'm going to throw him a healing word.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, he's within 60 feet of me, right?
Yep. Okay, so Devlin and Tal, you hear Thokk pointing and shouting. And
I'll look towards where he's pointing.
And Roscoe, you get 5.
Oh.
6, I'm sorry.
okay. Tal and Devlin, what do you do?
You get 6 hit points back.
If I see the assassin,
Yes, you do.
I'm going to cast sleep on him.
Okay, do it.
I just need to do this.
And Tal, what do you do?
I charge in, pushing away the people here. I just like move them, holding their faces and pushing them back. Then move, and they charge in towards where this assassin is.
Okay.
Okay, I've cast sleep on the assassin and got, let me just make sure I've got it right. Yes, 32 hit points.
So 32 hit points actually does not put him to sleep. So he kind of shakes the effect, kind of stumbles a little bit to the left and to the right, and he simply stands there with a bloody short sword in his hand.
Since sleep is an area of effect spell, would it put Roscoe to sleep?
Oh, that actually.
Actually, yeah, it starts with the weakest thing within the circle, so Roscoe would probably be the first to go down.
Yeah. So Roscoe, you're down.
So it's
Sorry.
like, I die, then I wake up, then I'm asleep. I probably want to sleep through this anyway, so it's probably like it's probably better for me.
We're
to
saving
act
you the
dead,
guilt of attacking
you
a family member.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so Tal, yeah, I'm
You're
listening.
welcome, I guess.
Tal, if you want, you can manage to simply charge and attack this assassin, if you want.
Yeah, I would like to do a. I would like to take down this nimble guy.
Okay.
Do you want me to roll athletics, or what do you want me to roll?
You want to simply kind of grapple him, hold him?
Yes,
Okay.
hold him down.
Make an you can do it.
17.
17 is good. So he simply stands there, and you manage to kind of rush and bring him down, kind of kick the sword out of his grasp, and he simply stares at you, and you can see that his eyes are, he's basically gone, like a husk of a halfling. And indeed, it is a halfling, another halfling. Okay, so as you do that, Thokk and Devlin, you can see that some of the sailors are pulling Broad Shoulders up, and he's cursing, and he's completely soaked and wet, so he kind of elbows his men, and then he goes below deck in rage. You can hear him cursing all the way down, and then he goes up again and approaches you, Thokk, with a sack in his hands. So half of the crew is basically watching him approaching you, half of the crew is kind of circling Roscoe and the other halfling that Tal is holding. What do you want to do?
To be honest, on a personal note, we've got an assassin on board, so what happened in this fight is of no concern at the moment. We have someone stabbing people on the deck, so I'm going to Eldritch Blast the assassin.
You do see that Tal is kind of holding him down. So if you want to attack him, sure, go ahead. But
okay, we've got hold of him.
Yes.
Right. I'll go and help him hold him down.
okay, so you do that, and as soon as you do, Captain Durana steps from the helm down, and she stands just above the two halflings. Thokk, Broad Shoulders approaches you, and in anger opens the sack, sticks his hand inside, and then pulls out something that looks like a golden, like a nose ring. I don't know how does it called? Like it's like a jewel that you can. It's like a golden ring that can fit in a nose, but in a large nose, like a Minotaur's nose. And he holds it to you and says,
Score settled.
Thank you.
and he says,
When Durana freed me from slavery back in Chult, this was a mark. This was what marked me as a slave. It is yours now. It is a token of me getting my freedom back.
All beings should be free. You felt strongly that your spirits needed a sacrifice. Is there a ritual that goes with that sacrifice?
he says,
No ritual, just blood and pain.
and then he looks at Roscoe still down with a puddle of blood around him, even though the wound was closed. And he says,
Seems like we have paid the price.
obviously, you think that you're not sure if he saw that Roscoe was healed. Maybe he thinks he's dead.
I will ask the doctor to go over to Roscoe and tend to his wounds. If he's got any. If he's dead, then he can't, but...
So he does go to Roscoe first, and after a short examination, he kind of lifts his head and says to Durana, "Oh, he'll live. He's just asleep. Someone had cured him. But the wound was grievous." And then he looks at the assassin and says, "But this one here is sick. We should probably confine him." And at this, Broad Shoulders kind of shouts above your head, Thokk,
Let him walk.
And the crew is kind of baffled. They don't cheer or something like that. They obviously sense that something is very off here. What do you guys want to do?
We should take him because he's attacked one of our people. We want retribution.
We want information. Can I look at the Minotaur and see if he's like acting differently than he was the previous day? Like maybe something's messing with his head?
Sure, make an insight check.
$15.
So with that, you do feel that something has changed about him. Maybe it was the quick dip in the water that did something, you're not sure, but he looked like he is much more focused. So yes, you think that something did. Maybe you're not sure if it messed with his mind, but his behavior is very different now. Maybe it is the effect of the fact that you've defeated him in duel, but maybe it's something else. You're not sure, but something is different.
Well, on a personal note, this guy attacked us. So I don't want to let him go at the moment. We have a score to settle, whether that is information or whatever. But this guy's not going anywhere. This guy also, from what I can tell, has been stalking the party for a while. So we definitely won't.
Yeah, no, we don't want to kill him. He's family.
Oh.
Roscoe, you are awakened by Severus, the doctor. He kind of opens a small bottle, waves it just below your nose, and you wake up.
Oh. Ow.
They're there.
Ow.
They're there. You should be fine.
Do I see this?
Yes, you can see Devlin and Tal holding the one of your another of your relatives, with Durana looking at him, trying to decide what to do. Obviously, there's been some sort of a debate what to do with the prisoner.
Let's see. What's a good halfling name for this? Do you know his name?
No, you should know.
I should know.
Okay. While he figures that out real quick, I'm going to turn to the minister. I'm going to turn to Broad Shoulders and tell him, look, I know I was giving you a hard time before, but in all honesty, a challenge won through trickery is not a challenge won. And I hand him back the ring. Says there's no honor for either of us in this fight.
He looks at you and says,
Wise words.
And he then says,
I shall call you no half-blood. I shall call you half-blood no more.
No harm in the truth. I am half-blood.
and then he says,
But you are wise.
and he lowers his head and says,
I don't know what came over me. I was irritated from the first day that you have gone on board. It is not like me.
Corin, what are you doing here? Did you come to? We used to play marbles together in the dirt. You used to cheat and win every time. Did you come to apologize for cheating at marbles?
he looks at his sword, which is still lying flat on the wooden deck, still with your blood on it, and then he says,
No, I am here to kill you.
What are you? Why? Why would you kill me? You already beat me at marbles like 100 times. What's your? What are you? Are you? Is it Morgaia? Is this another? Who is this Morgaia? What are you? What's going on?
he says,
She sent me. She sent some of us to find you and kill you. She told me to say she is sorry.
Well, I mean, it really doesn't matter if she's sorry or not. I mean, if she's so sorry, why doesn't she just stop doing it in the first place? Why is she? What's her problem?
She said
Roscoe, did you miss your wedding day?
she says, he says that the halfling says,
she says you are dangerous, that you are unlike us, that you are the first that will survive.
I mean, surviving is good. I feel like I'm barely doing that right now.
and then he says,
You should not survive. We should not survive.
and then he looks at the sword again and then at you, and then the sword starts to dance on the floor, kind of like.
Oh shit.
I walk over and step on the blade.
Can I squeeze? Can I squeeze his head harder?
Yep. Make a strength check.
I don't want to overdo it. Hopefully.
Yeah. Don't roll a 20.
Oh, strength check. Sorry. I think that works. Oh no, it has a multiplier.
Was that a natural 20? No.
No,
Okay.
at 18.
So
plus
you kind of squeeze his head. He kind of peeps, and then he blacks out. And at this point, the sword under your boot stops dancing. And Durana says,
Severus, take the halfling.
and she points at the assassin
to your quarters.
the rest, and she looks at Broad Shoulders and the four of you.
Into my quarters.
It would probably be a good idea if we strip him of any other weapons, and just in case.
Oh yes, I will. I most definitely will,
Says the doctor.
Dibs on the dancing blade.
So you leave the crew as they kind of rush to make sure the ship is secure. They are definitely talking among themselves, mostly on the stain of blood on on the deck, and the fact that the spirits must be appeased now. And then you all convene at the captain's quarters, which is not a very big chamber. Basically, a desk, a large wooden chest, and a kind of a small kind of wagon that can be rolled in and out of the room that contains a lot of alcohol. And she invites you all. She basically gestures toward this wagon and allows you all to help yourself if you do want. She then sits. Yeah. She then sits on the table and looks at you, Roscoe, and says, "Can you repeat what you said to me?" Back on the helm.
Okay.
I'm going to tend my wounds while they're talking.
Okay.
So, okay, maybe I should start from the beginning. So my family, my people, my community, we grew up in the Cloakwood near Candlekeep, and it was so nice. It was such, and but then I started getting these bad dreams, and there would be like eyes in the night, and it was. They would be speaking to me, and I would wake up in a sweat, and it was I didn't really talk about it too much because I just wanted the dreams to stop and go away. But so one day my sister and I, we went out mushroom picking in the forest, and when we got back home, the town had disappeared. I mean, not the buildings, but the people. But it had been ransacked, and stuff was all over the place, and there was nobody left. And I don't know what happened. But suddenly, like out of the blue, lately, some of the villagers, they were who are very sick, started coming at it, just approaching me, and this is the second one that's tried to kill me, and I want to know what happened, and where my parents are, and if they're okay, and if they're sick too, and you know, how can I help them? And I've heard the name Morgaya. Morgaya seems to be the person in charge of all this, and I don't know what.
So when you said the name Morgaya again, she looks at Saida and kind of nods, and then Saida says, "Morgaya is the name of the witch I was a slave to back in Chult."
What? Chult? Where's that?
It's a land far, far to the south.
And then she says,
if Morgaya's hand is reaching that far north, no one is safe.
She says then, Durana looks at all of you and says,
I did hear about criminals escaping El Turel with loot taken from the vaults of the temple there.
And then she says,
you do not look like criminals to me.
Where is this vault again?
Chult. Chult is an island far, far to the south, like really far. It's a journey that would take months in a ship, and is probably a very dangerous one.
Well, I mean, the thing about El Turel is that the people in charge there, they're not. They pretend to be these godly good people, but they're really not. they have a secret torture chamber, and they're very bad listeners. They don't put their listening ears on when they're supposed to, and
She then kind of interjects and says, "But I do not understand how all of you are related to this Morgaya and to what happened in El Turel." She looks at you confused and says, what are you searching for? You're not telling me everything." And then she when she says that, she looks at all of you. At Tal, at Thokk, at Devlin.
I'm just looking for my friend Talus, who I was told is in Baldur's Gate, which is why I'm headed that way.
I am just a traveller, sampling the wonders of life around here. I do not know this, or Gaia, or anyone. I have no idea who she is, or he.
Then she looks at Tal.
I am staring at the blade that was moving earlier, and I'm trying to make it move, and I go, what? What are we talking about? And then I stare back at the sword.
Saida kind of rolls her eyes, but Captain Durana smiles. And then she says, "My obligation to Saida still remains. I am to protect her from the witch that have enslaved her. How are you related to this witch, Halfling? I am not sure, but this is something I need to consider."
me either.
She then removes another coin similar to the one she gave Nethek, and she places it in your hand and says, "I will not risk my ship and crew entering Baldur's Gate. I would have you off board just a few miles from Baldur's Gate. Then I should turn back and head to El Turel. There is a library there. I might find some answers."
Thank you. Captain Durana, when we leave the boat, can we take Corin with us? Because you asked what we were looking for, and I really want to find my parents. I think they might still be alive and sick and need help.
You notice that Saida and Durana kind of exchange glances, and then the captain says, "No, he will remain here. I want to interrogate him further."
Me too.
Roll an insight check.
Quick question.
Yes?
The sword that Roscoe was stabbed with, what kind was it?
It was a short sword. Again, like the dagger he was stabbed with, or the dagger that the last halfling assassin held, it is very, very old, almost antique, but definitely usable. The blade is covered in kind of ornaments. It seems like roses with their thorns, very kind of obvious and enlarged. Roscoe, with that insight check, you believe that Captain Durana is, well, maybe she has her own ways to interrogate people. You're pretty sure that whatever she has planned for this assassin, for your relative isn't pleasant. But you feel, according to the way she looked at Saida, that she is going to pursue this course of action no matter what.
Well, I mean, it seems fair to Roscoe that he was the one that got attacked in this, so at the very least he should be there for the interrogations, in inverted commas. We can't just leave him.
Saida says, I think you would rather not be when we do this.
But this seems, if you think I'm squeamish, then I'm not. I don't think any one of us are. But he did attack Roscoe.
And she says, I'm not thinking of you. I'm thinking about Roscoe.
I'll look at Roscoe. What do you think?
I want to be there, and I want to know what happened, where my parents are, and can you? I mean, if you find out where my parents are and I'm off the boat, then you can't tell me.
Make a persuasion roll. You can see that Captain Duran is kind of considering her options.
It does seem fair.
And you can roll with advantage because Devlin is kind of helping you in the. Okay.
4 and a 3.
So I'm
Can
listening.
I roll?
So you basically give an advantage to Roscoe. So she nods and says, "Our ways," and with that she probably means her Chilton ways, would not please your sense of aesthetic. You should not be where we are interrogating him. But I assure you, if we learn anything of importance, we will share this information with you. And she points at the coin.
Well, okay. Well, you said you're going to go to El Terrell next to go to the library. Could you also bring Corin to the priest there, the good ones? Like the fat one is good. I think his name is Ondar. He's a good guy. The other ones, they're jerks. And try and heal him. My other cousin Milo, he's already there.
She says, "Of course."
Okay. Can I take Nibbles out of my pocket and see if Nibbles was also stabbed by the blade, or if Nibbles is still alive?
No, he's fine.
She.
Sorry. She's fine.
Okay.
She's afraid and kind of, but she's fine. She then says, the captain says, "We are approaching Wyrm's Rock. This is the gateway to Baldur's Gate. I'm not going to get into the port. We will sail through Wyrm's Crossing and leave you there. From there you can travel just a short while to Baldur's Gate. But I must warn you, your reputation probably precedes you in the city. You should lay low."
Devlin's wondering what the heck he's got himself into, because there's something going on here that he doesn't know much about. So I'll say to Roscoe, his equipment, maybe you should take his equipment, including his knives and his daggers and that, because it sounds like they have some connection with you. Maybe you can find something out through his belongings.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's a curse on them. Maybe there's I don't know. I don't want to take the knife that tried to kill me. I don't want. It'll be. I'll have flashbacks. Um,
Fair enough.
by the way, does this DM constitute a short rest? This conversation?
Yes.
Can Roscoe spend hit dice?
Yes, sure. So with this, you all leave the captain's room. The halfling stays at the doctor's chambers, and the ship basically is the crew is basically eyeing you. Some of you kind of looking at Thokk as if he is like their hero after defeating this mighty Minotaur. But some of them are kind of suspicious of what's going on and why the captain doesn't say anything. She then tells her crew to quickly make way to Wyrm's crossing, which is something like a day travel to the west. Even during the night, she orders to set sail and make haste. She will save you this way another day, so you will reach Baldur's Gate in 3 days overall. Is there anything you want to do during that day of travel?
Yeah, I'm going to take 10 minutes at some point in time and cast Identify as a ritual on the short sword.
Okay. So you cast a spell, and when you do, you can see that this sword was made something like 400 to 500 years ago, and the fact that it's covered with flowers suggests something about its point of origin. You do think that this is a Cholton-made sword, but it doesn't have any magical property you can sense. You do feel that it shook because the halfling maybe has some powers that can allow him maybe something like mage hand, or maybe something a little bit more powerful that can help him retrieve his sword or control it in some sort of a way. So this is what you learn.
I'd like to point out or invoke a feature of mine, my background, city secrets.
Okay.
So, Roscoe used to be resident in Baldur's Gate for a period of time as a beggar / petty thief, and so he kind of knows a lot of like the back ways of the city, and even has like kind of a rough map of the town sketched on a piece of paper that he still carries around with him.
Okay.
And so I guess I'll just kind of explain that to the group as we go, and Roscoe probably knows like a kind of maybe a secret way in, if there is one. And I would like to make for a place where I believe we might find some sanctuary in the town. Like, I think maybe Leosin, his monk mentor, had some kind of, was sort of attached to some sort of temple, or had dealings at least with some group in the town, and maybe we could head there. Maybe they would give us sanctuary or help us.
Okay. So
Well, if we're just looking for some place to stay, I can set us up at any inn in town.
But we're it seems like we're fugitives from justice now. At least the captain thinks that we should not maybe stand out too much. Maybe we'll get arrested.
I'm trying to work out whether that includes me or not, because I've, sort of, there's a lot of stuff been going on that I don't really know about, so it'd be good to try and find out, and I want to go outside.
Well, long story short, the authorities believe that we stole some stuff from the Helm's from Helm's Temple in El Turel from the vaults. The real
Okay.
story is a little more complicated than that. We were unfairly arrested and imprisoned there, and there was torture involved, and we actually ended up saving a child from a demon, and it was, we're actually like kind of heroes, but they don't see it that way.
I need to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
And we might have taken like a reward that they should have been
Of
offering us in
course.
the first place, because that's just, it's just sitting there, right? They're not using any of that stuff.
No,
Exactly. So
it's not like Helm's going to complain or anything, is it? He's not going to sort of, apply to the magistrate over a theft or anything like that. He's not even here.
well, so as you can see, it's just a big misunderstanding, but still, we kind of, I think, should be careful.
So at this point, Nethek Hornswallow kind of approaches you and says,
Excuse me, a misunderstanding. Maybe I can help.
Okay. How can...
Well, I've been thinking.
and he looks at Tal and Thokk and says,
Back.
I've been thinking about what you told me. I was left with my horses dead and with my only companion,
and he points at Devlin,
where indeed whoever did that to my horses could have definitely killed me along the way and no one would know about it. I believe that the fact that I was asking questions about the convoy I was a member of triggered that response, and maybe indeed I was supposed to die. The fact that I'm not suggests that someone in the chain of command of whoever wanted me dead is a weak link who didn't actually want to kill someone. This makes me think that I can maybe track that person and settle a score. What I suggest is that you are to be my guests in my humble residence. I can probably sneak you in, and then maybe we can work together. I could definitely use your reputation to maybe introduce you to my former Karen master. Maybe you can help me in this way. Well, I know he stays at Little Kalimshan, which is a small fortified neighborhood belonging to the Kalishite refugees that are living in Baldur's Gate. So you will be out of the law's reach, and maybe your reputation, and he kind of smiles when he says that, can help me find out who wanted to kill me and why.
Do we get paid though?
But of course. And when we do find out who it is, maybe we can then approach the law officials and clear your name and shut down the business of that nasty caravan master who I hired and betrayed me. And I still want to know, what were they transporting?
that makes that I think that works. And also, we're supposed to be well, okay. So Devlin, another little piece of our reality is that we're friends with a blue dragon named Lenathan, or at least I am. Well, okay, he doesn't say friends, but I think we're friends. And
Okay.
and he asked us to do a favor, which is that there's this dragon cult or something, um, who has, they've been raiding and pillaging and killing a lot of people, and they've been sending caravans of treasure to Baldur's Gate, and he wants us to kind of investigate that and report to him if we find out anything. So maybe it's all related. Maybe it's all connected together, because you said that you were in a caravan and you were asking questions, and then they almost killed you. So maybe they were actually part of the cult, and that's why they didn't want you to ask any questions, huh? Did I just figure that out? I must have. I don't know. Was there like a intelligence? Like, did I get like +2 intellect from death? I crossed over to the other side and I came back and it's like, oh wow, I'm actually like.
So
you'll have to get yourself stabbed more often, won't you? Sort of like you have like pieces of inspiration and things like that.
I'd rather just be dumb.
So Nethak kind of slams his hand on his forehead and he says, "By Moradin's hammer, dragon cultists. That makes total sense. I did hear the rumors about raiders looting villages and towns, and this is why they didn't want me to ask questions about what they were transporting. It's all connect now." And then he looks at you and says, "Well, if that Grimalk is a dragon cultist, then we are going to shut him down for good." And then he kind of rubs his hand as he, thinking about the various business opportunities this situation yields. So he looks at you very, very pleased and says, "That was an amazing change of deductions, my little friend."
You're telling me. Oh, by the way, Lenathan, he's a secret. Shh! Don't tell anybody.
And he kind of waves and says, yes, of course. As long as I stick the sharp end of my dagger into Grimal's eye, I will be most happy to keep it a secret. And you believe he doesn't really mean that as a, it's a figure of speech. Okay then
Right.
we will have dinner together very soon. And then he leaves leave you and starts packing his belongings from the small chamber he was allowed in. Anything else you want to do during the night?
Are we still on the boat, or are we now traveling towards Baldur's Gate?
So you're traveling on the boat towards Baldur's Gate, and Captain Durana says she will drop you at Wyrm's Crossing. If you look at the map in Roll20, it's basically that tower or fort that emerges from the water. It's marked with the letter S. So she will leave you there.
No problem. I will want to do something when we get to Baldur's Gate. But for now, I'm relatively happy just to travel there. So yeah, I'll get my stuff together. I'll go and see the doctor specifically, and give him a small flask that I want him to fill some of that alcohol he gave me.
Okay.
I want him to fill it with some of that alcohol, and then I can try a bit later on. It's powerful stuff.
Okay. Yes, you definitely have Severus brew in a small flask.
It looks from the map that Wyrm's Crossing might be a place where there are a lot of guards.
So Nethek says that Wyrm's Crossing is indeed like the fort itself does have the city guards inside, but the whole bridge is basically covered with buildings and shacks and shops, and so they like covered it with. You can actually call it a small city on its own, and he knows some ways in which the guards maybe aren't looking at, and he chuckles when he says that. And actually, you do remember that Ben Horngold was trying to get to a specific route under the bridge. I'm not sure who it was that. So you kind of make the connection and realize.
And I guess Roscoe would know all of that anyway, since he's sort of.
Okay, so indeed, you do have a good night's rest with the crew working all around you in shifts to make sure the ship gets to Wyrm's Crossing early on the next day. And it is the first sign of civilization that you see for a long time. After almost 3 days on the river with nothing to the right and to the left of you, suddenly you can see this impressive fort kind of rising high above the surface of the water, and the bridge that basically arcs over the river is connecting the fort to the outer city districts of Baldur's Gate. And you can see that the bridge is covered with buildings and merchant stalls, from small to large buildings. They basically pile atop each other along the entire length of this bridge, making it, you can probably, you couldn't see the water probably. If you were on the bridge, you probably couldn't actually see the water because of the many buildings that hang over it. And Captain Durana kind of navigates her ship to a specific location just below the bridge, which allows you to kind of jump and land on one of the rocks that one of the columns that hold the bridge, the part that is nearer to Baldur's Gate, and she points out to a small opening in the rock and smile, saying that this is your way into the city undetected. And basically, this is it. She shakes your hand, Roscoe, making sure to remind you of the coin, and says that...
Yes, I already noted it in my inventory, Captain Durana.
And she wishes you all good luck. Thokk, the Minotaur, approaches you and say, if you have some time in the city, go visit the Elfsong Inn. I think you would find it most enjoyable.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then you all jump from the board, from the deck, straight into this small opening in the bridge supporting column, and you walk upstairs on damp, very damp staircase, kind of carved into the stone, and you emerge, Roscoe first, next to what seems to be a food stand. Like it's a small building, like an open inn, only 3 walls, a kitchen open to the street, and you kind of emerge from the opening in which they throw their garbage. So you basically emerge there. The people who are eating and drinking there don't pay you any attention, and even the barkeep even smiles at you as you go about your business, as if he's used to people coming from that direction.
Well, instantly, I'm going to go to one of the food stalls and start to buy some delicacies, which look nice.
Okay, so they basically wrap, in this early morning hour, they wrap slabs of meat in leaves that are edible. With on top of this dish, they kind of sprinkle dried fruits. So it's like both sweet and salty at the same time, and very how should I say? You can start your day like
Okay.
yeah, energized with this combination.
He'll quite enjoy it. He'll sort of try 2 or 3 things actually. So he'll try that. He'll go to another stall and try something else from there, and then another stall to try something else from there.
So Nethak basically looks at you patiently, kind of with a smile on his face as you taste the different things. But soon after, he kind of pulls you all and says that his small residence is in the lower city, which he can take you quite easily. But Roscoe, you believe that you know a better route that will kind of circle around most of the guards' patrols. So if you want, you can lead the group there.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Since is there anything? I guess I hadn't really thought about this, but is there like a shop on the way or en route that holds or carries interesting, possibly magical stuff, like either like potions or fancy weapons or something? Because we actually have some gems and stuff that's burning a hole in Roscoe's pocket a little bit. And
Right. So not on the bridge itself, which is basically like a market and a food market, basically. But in the city itself, there is one such shop. It is called Sorcerer's Sundries. You remember it is a tall, round building, basically hosting a magical supplies and maybe potions. It was in one time it was a restaurant, then it was a greenhouse, and then it was converted into a flower shop. But now it's doing business as a magic shop. You don't remember who is running it right now, because it's like moved from hand to hand a lot. But usually there's a wizard there, like a retired adventurer or something like that, that sells whatever magical items he can put his hands on.
okay, Roscoe will mention this to the rest of the group, especially to Thokk, well, and to Tal, and to, I'm sure Damien would or Devlin would be interested in that. But I guess it's not on the way to Kalimshan. It's probably not.
Nope.
But I'll just sort of bring it up and because now there was a point where we were carrying around like treasure chests full of gold, but I believe we lost those, right? We kind of left them at that evil wizard's tower somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But we did get some gems from the vault,
Yep.
I believe. So we do have. I think Roscoe's got like, maybe a couple of hundred gold, not that much, but maybe he could buy something interesting.
Okay. So Nethek says that he can. We have like 2 options. We can go to Little Kalimshan, which is probably far from the law's eyes. We can probably rent there a room for, I don't know, a couple of days, and he knows that Grimalk, the caravan master, is hiring people at Kalimshan, at Small Kalimshan, because Little Kalimshan, because it's like a den of thieves, rogues, and in general unpolite people. Think about something like Mos Eisley from Star Wars, like a very rough place. But if you want a more respectable company, he can take you to his residence in the lower city, which is maybe a little bit more risky, but much more comfortable. So it's up to you.
I'll go with what everyone else wants. I mean, he's looking at himself, and he's had nothing to do with this keep. So I don't think he's in that much trouble. but he would like to try and find the local harper in Baldur's Gate. He's not telling them this, but he will go out and try and find them himself.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if it was just me, I would vote for comfortable because I did get murdered yesterday. And also, I'm small and sneaky and I can get around pretty easy. But maybe for Tal, and especially for Tal, but also Thokk, maybe it would be better to just go to Little Kalimshan because they're not. Tal isn't so sneaky. He's pretty obvious.
I can be sneaky.
Well, so what do you want to do, Tal?
I prefer to a place where I could earn a few coins. You know what I mean. Also, I do want to find the cult at a faster pace if it would be okay with everyone.
I'm happy with whatever you think is best. You are the ones that are, shall we say, have certain concerns.
What do you think, Thokk?
I'm open for just about anything, but I'll always lean towards comfort where possible.
Should we say comfort then?
Comfort it is then.
Sure.
Okay. In this case, Netta, you, Roscoe, and Netta kind of lead the way through the outer city. So think about it this way: as you leave the Wyrm's Crossing, which is a bridge, you kind of land on a muddy and dirty, unpaved road that kind of winds through stockyard, stable, storage area, and ramshack buildings. A city, basically the outer city that isn't Baldur's Gate proper. Those buildings, they kind of sprawl without any plan or reason. These are muddy streets, a tangle of shanties, forges, tanneries, dye works, slaughterhouses, stables, anything that you don't want inside of a respectable city. And you can see that the people who work in this area, as you kind of walk on this muddy road, are basically hard-working men and women trying to raise their children, but they don't have the means to actually move into the city and enjoy the protection and comfort of that place. You also notice that there is no police here, no city guards, nothing. And Roscoe, you know that this area is basically protected by a mercenary group called the Flaming Fists, but they are not paid to patrol the outer city. So this place is kind of left without law or any means of maintenance from the city. Nothing. They simply work and sell their merchandise and try to live through another day. It's a very noisy and unpleasant place, but not because of the people.
Yeah, Roscoe probably spent a lot of time there. Probably the bulk of his time.
Yes. So all the rest, you are kind of happy to see, civilization. This is not what you expected when you imagined Baldur's Gate, probably the largest and most busiest city of the Sword Coast. So this is definitely not what you expected.
Devlin is just enjoying himself. So occasionally, with the many stalls and things like that, he'll go over and buy a little bit of something and talk to people. Mainly asking them food-related questions.
Okay.
So he'll sort of, so what type of meat is this? How have you made such rich tastes and flavors and things like? He looks like he's a little bit like a child seeing something for the first time.
So most of the people you interact with and come to talk with are, red-eyed, hunched backs. They will serve you the food you want and even smile as you enjoy it. But you can see that they are very desperate and on the brink of either rioting or maybe losing all interest in life. It's like one of the two extremes. So it's either maybe you find a very young man who kind of serves you your food, and then as you said, you say something about the quality of the meat, and he responds with, well, it's not like they have it in Baldur's Gate. Well, we should probably break down the walls and storm inside and take our city back. Or you simply find people who just nod and smile and then continue to do their very, very hard work. If you do see money get exchanged in this area, it's like pennies. It's copper pieces, and that's it. Most of the trade here is done using banter. Like, people pay with chickens for bread and stuff like that.
Okay. I'm also going to be looking out for any Harper medallions.
Okay.
Or secret emblems that Harpers use.
Okay. So how do you go about that?
The Harpers use the same emblem, which is a harp. I think it's on a silver background.
Mm-hmm.
The Harpers are a network of information people, but they're usually good in terms of, so they enjoy swapping information and that. So I'm looking for a fellow Harper to swap information, and maybe I can find out something about this cult and the vault and things like that. So
okay, so in this case I need you to make a perception check as you move around this those muddy streets. Any other thing you guys want to do while Devlin is keeping an eye for Harper?
I mean, I guess Roscoe knows it's a dangerous district, so I'm sort of maybe just keeping an eye out for thugs.
Okay.
Or some kind of threat. There are probably many memories that he had in this place. Most of them bad. Maybe a few of them good. There probably were maybe a few kind souls who helped him when he was hungry, who live here. So, yeah, if I sort of happen to pass by any of those people, but it's probably not.
Okay. So, Damien, as you kind of scan the streets, you see a bakery with its windows, kind of stained windows. They have shelves on it with all kinds of pastries on them. Obviously not of a very, very good quality, but loaves of bread of many kinds. And the baker itself, he stands outside with an apron, and what's interesting about its apron is that he has like the symbol of a harp kind of drawn on this apron. It's like a golden harp decorated with kind of birds maybe sitting on it. And he is in deep conversation with three kind of rough-looking men, and it seems like they are demanding something of him, and he kind of raises his hands and says that, like, I have nothing or something like that. And at this point, you two make eye contact. And then the three men that are talking to him, they all turn to you, to the four of you, and say,
Well, what do we have here? You brought some friends to help you negotiate?
and the baker says,
No, I've never seen them before, sirs.
You'll have to give me a moment because for some reason I can't bring up my character sheet at all. So I'm just going to switch Roll20 off and put it back on. Hopefully that'll help.
no problem.
So, okay.
The rest of you, these three, they approach you slowly and deliberately. What do you do?
Well, Roscoe doesn't like bullies, so, and I think he'll stand up to them. He says, "Leave us alone, and leave that man alone too. You big jerks. Go find someone. Go pick on someone your own size."
Thokk?
I ready my weapon and I go, do you really want to get hurt inside this store?
I'm also preparing for any fights to break out.
Okay. Thokk?
I'm watching the whole thing warily from the back of the group.
Okay. So, Tal, make an intimidation check, and you can make it with an advantage. Roscoe is there with you, standing his ground too. So
I don't know if a halfling ally would give you advantage or disadvantage in this situation.
it's more of the tone of your voice and
yeah, just kidding.
so
Yeah, it's all force of personality.
exactly. So go for it, Tal. You are muted, so I can't hear you, at least.
Oh, my sheet was not popping out here.
Okay.
Intimidation.
Amazing. So they all smile and say,
Well, we might leave the baker alone and have ourselves a halfling sandwich.
and then they all pull out short swords and rush right at the four of you. And I think it's a good point to to stop for the day.
Are we fighting in a bakery?
No, just outside of it, in
okay.
the muddy street.
Okay.
Like common thugs.
I won't be using a French bread as a weapon.
Okay, great. So we'll pick it up next week and see how things in Baldur's Gate go.
Fun.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks, all. It was fun.
My
Yes,
pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye.
and see you next week.
And I'm alive.
Yeah.
Yay!
Alive and well.
Oh.
Woo.
By the way, DM, did you said I had advantage on my intimidation?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
oh,
21.
oh, right. I'm terribly sorry. Okay, so we'll narrate it very differently.
No worries.
No, that's fine. They basically, in this case, look at you, your big form, and your like mad halfling friend, and take a step back, look at the baker, and say, "We'll be back." And then they look at you and say, "We're watching." And then they simply leave. They back off and leave. Okay. So yeah, be assertive. Say that you have an advantage. I gave you an advantage, and don't use it.
You see, you may be a halfling, but you are just as frightening as any minotaur out there.
Yeah, I like how Thokk survived his duel, but I died.
Yeah, that the invisibility trick and having him charge was actually very, very nice. I like it.
Yeah, that was, wow.
Okay, so yeah, so Baldur's Gate is going to be interesting. So we'll figure it out next week.
And let's be honest, guys, there was no way I was winning that fight without cheating.
No, that's fair. Yeah, it was a good idea when you did it the first time, because you said about walking towards the side of the boat. I thought, yeah, I know what's coming here, and then it sort of didn't work that first time, did it? It looked like he actually hit you and did damage.
And we didn't bet against you. That did not happen.
That didn't happen.
No, I didn't bet against you. I bet for you. In my mind.
Given the opportunity, I'd have probably bet against me too. So.
Oh, by the way, do we win the gold?
So if you bet, yeah, that was that was a really really cool way out of it. And that.
Well, I was debating between that and casting Shatter on the boat, and I figured the Shatter would probably not go over well with the rest of the crew. So.
No, you handled it perfectly. That was brilliantly done, and I really liked how Roscoe kind of connected all the dots with the convoy and the raids and everything. It was actually very good.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm surprised at him.
Okay, guys, I have to close up shop. So next week, see you there.
See you then.
Bye bye.
Bye.